Maya Okafor wiped the sweat from her brow as she adjusted the humidity controls in her greenhouse. The Arizona desert wasn't the ideal place for exotic plant research, but the isolation served her purposes perfectly. After leaving her prestigious university position, she craved nothing more than peace among her specimens. The sudden crash from the back of the greenhouse sent her heart racing. Probably another coyote, she thought, grabbing her flashlight. The beam cut through the misty air as she navigated between rows of vibrant flora. "Hello?" she called out, more from habit than expectation of response. The soft whimper that answered froze her in place. Behind her collection of Amazonian orchids, Maya found them. The adult was clearly injured, leaking an iridescent blue fluid from what appeared to be a shoulder. But it was the smaller figures, 3 of them, that made Maya's scientific mind temporarily shut down in disbelief. They weren't human. The tallest stood perhaps 4 feet high, with delicate limbs that seemed to shimmer slightly, their skin a pale lavender that reflected her flashlight's beam. 6-fingered hands clutched at the adult, presumably their mother, while large, almond-shaped eyes regarded Maya with unmistakable intelligence and fear. "We seek sanctuary," the adult said, each word carefully formed as if speaking English required tremendous effort. "Children, harm none." Maya's training as a scientist battled with her human instinct to help. "You're injured," she said simply, kneeling down at a non-threatening distance. "Crash landing. Pursuit vessels." The alien mother winced, her voice melodic despite the obvious pain. "Homeworld destroyed. No choice but Earth." The children huddled closer to their mother. The smallest couldn't have been more than equivalent to a 4-year-old human child, with eyes that seemed too wise for its size. "I'm Maya," she said slowly. "I'm a scientist, I study plants. I can help with your injury." The alien mother's eyes, deep indigo with no visible pupils, studied Maya's face. "I am Neelix. These are my offspring, Torin, Alai, and little Maifa." She gestured to each child in turn. "Our kind, called Stellarians. We travel light years, escape genocide." Maya's medical supplies were basic, but she gathered antiseptic and bandages. As she approached, the oldest child, Torin, moved protectively in front of his mother. "It's okay," Maya said softly. "I'm going to help." The child spoke in a musical language to its mother, who responded with a gentle touch to its shoulder. Only then did Torin step aside, though his eyes never left Maya's hands. As Maya cleaned the wound, Neelix explained between winces that their spacecraft was designed to appear as a meteor to Earth's detection systems. They had chosen this remote location deliberately, hoping to find temporary refuge before seeking others of their kind who had established a small colony years before. "Why Earth?" Maya asked, carefully wrapping the bandage around the alien's shoulder. "Humans, diverse. Adaptable," Neelix replied. "Some know of us already. Small numbers, integrated." The youngest child, Maifa, approached Maya with cautious steps. In her tiny hands was a small crystal that emitted a soft, pulsing light. "Gift," the child said, the word perfectly formed unlike her mother's strained speech. "Thank." Maya accepted the crystal, feeling its gentle warmth spread through her fingers. "You're welcome," she whispered, a lump forming in her throat. "Need time, Eel," Neelix said. "Then find others. If possible, legal status through human marriage bond. Only way, protect children under Earth law." Maya looked at the family, frightened, wounded, but with dignity intact, and made a decision that would change everything. "You can stay here while you heal," she said. "No one comes to this greenhouse but me." The relief in Neelix's eyes was universal in any language. The children relaxed visibly, the smallest one, Maifa, reaching out to touch Maya's hand with cool, delicate fingers. "Thank you," Neelix said. "Children remember kindness, forever." 2 weeks passed in a blur of discovery and caution. Maya converted her garden shed into living quarters for the Stellarian family, carefully obscuring the windows and installing a small heating system to match their preferred climate. Neelix's wound healed remarkably fast, the damaged tissue regenerating before Maya's fascinated eyes. As a botanist, she couldn't help but document these observations in her private journal, sketching the alien physiology with meticulous detail. Your circulatory system seems to contain bioluminescent properties, Maya noted one evening as she changed the bandages one last time. Is that common among your people? Neelix nodded, the gentle light beneath her skin pulsing slightly. Light, part of us. Makes hiding difficult sometimes. The children adapted to Earth with astonishing speed. Torin, the oldest at what Neelix explained was equivalent to 12 Earth years, had already mastered English and spent hours studying Maya's collection of books. Alai, the middle child, showed extraordinary aptitude for music, creating haunting melodies on a makeshift instrument fashioned from greenhouse materials. And little Maifa followed Maya everywhere, absorbing information about plants with childlike wonder. These have healing properties, Maya explained to Maifa one morning, showing her the aloe plants. Just like your mother's special light. Maifa's eyes widened. We heal too. With touch. The child placed her six-fingered hand on a wilting seedling, and Maya watched in amazement as the plant straightened, its leaves turning a healthier green. Remarkable, Maya whispered. In the evenings, they gathered in Maya's small kitchen, where she taught them Earth customs. She showed them how to use utensils, explained clothing styles, and outlined basic human social interactions. The children absorbed everything eagerly, while Neelix watched with a mixture of pride and concern. What if humans reject us? Neelix asked one night after the children had gone to sleep. Some of your kind fear different. Maya couldn't deny this truth. Some do, she admitted. But not everyone. There are good people who would understand. The marriage bond. Neelix began hesitantly. Only legal protection. Children need Earth identity. Without it, government would take them. Study them. Maya felt a chill at the thought of these gentle beings subjected to endless scientific examinations. In just 2 weeks, she had grown protective of them, especially the children with their innocent questions and earnest attempts to please. How would it work? Maya asked, surprising herself with the question. This marriage bond? Neelix's eyes brightened slightly. Temporary arrangement. Until colony found. Or, permanent, if mutually desired. Our bonds, based on mind connection, not just legal terms. Maya's phone rang suddenly, breaking the moment. It was Jerome Willis, her only regular visitor who delivered supplies monthly. I'll be out tomorrow with your order, his voice crackled through the speaker. Got some special fertilizer you requested. After hanging up, Maya turned to Neelix with urgency. Someone's coming tomorrow. We need to prepare. The next morning, Maya coached the family on staying hidden. She had barely finished when the sound of Jerome's truck rumbled up the dirt road. What Maya hadn't expected was that Jerome would bring his curious 10-year-old daughter, Penny. Hope you don't mind, Jerome said as he unloaded supplies. Her mom's at a conference, and school's out today. Maya nervously watched Penny wander around the greenhouse, her heart nearly stopping when the girl approached the shed. What's in here? Penny called out. Just equipment, Maya answered too quickly. But it was too late. The door creaked open, and Penny's surprised gasp told Maya that their secret was discovered. She rushed over to find Penny staring wide-eyed at Maifa, who had emerged from hiding. You're blue. Penny exclaimed, not with fear but with wonder. Maya prepared to explain, to beg for secrecy, when something unexpected happened. I'm Maifa, the young Stellarian said, extending her six-fingered hand. I like your hair ribbons. Penny grinned, completely unfazed. I'm Penny. I like that you're blue. Are you an alien? Before Maya could intervene, Jerome appeared behind them. His reaction was not the terror or anger Maya had feared, but stunned silence followed by a soft laugh. Well, he said finally, I always told Penny the universe was full of wonders. As Maya watched Penny and Maifa already beginning to play together, she realized that perhaps humans were more adaptable than she had given them credit for. Perhaps there was hope for Neelix's family after all. The first step of their journey to acceptance had begun, not with fear, but with the simple acceptance of a child. Jerome Willis proved to be an unexpected blessing. After the initial shock wore off, his practical nature took over. As a former military medic before settling into rural life, he had seen enough to know when to keep secrets. Alien refugees, huh? He said to Maya a week after the discovery, watching the children playing with his daughter in the greenhouse. Can't say I had that on my 2025 bingo card. Maya smiled nervously. You're taking this remarkably well. After what I saw overseas, not much surprises me anymore. Jerome's eyes followed Torin as the young Stellarian carefully showed Penny how to propagate plant cuttings. Besides, those kids have better manners than most humans I know. What started as weekly visits soon became daily assistance. Jerome's medical background proved invaluable when Eli developed what appeared to be an allergic reaction to certain Earth proteins. Her respiratory system is different, Jerome explained as he examined the gasping child. The bronchial structure seems more sensitive to certain compounds. Neelix hovered anxiously as Jerome administered a modified antihistamine. Will she recover? She should, but we need someone with more specialized knowledge, Jerome admitted. I have a friend, Dr. Amara Patel. She's brilliant, discreet, and currently researching comparative xenobiology at the university. Theoretical, of course, until now. Maya hesitated. More humans involved means more risk. Sometimes you need a team, Jerome countered. Especially when children's lives are at stake. After careful consideration, they arranged for Dr. Patel to visit under the pretense of consulting on rare plant specimens. The petite woman with striking gray-streaked hair arrived with an unassuming demeanor that belied her brilliant mind. Her reaction upon meeting the Stellarians was pure scientific delight. Extraordinary, she breathed, examining Eli's now stabilized respiratory system. The bioluminescent properties in your circulatory fluid, it must serve multiple functions beyond oxygen transport. Neelix nodded. Healing, communication, temperature regulation. Dr. Patel spent hours documenting the Stellarians' physiology, always with gentle respect. This information could revolutionize medical science, she explained, but only with your consent and anonymity preserved. The doctor became their most valuable ally. She created medical records for the family under false human identities, complete with manipulated DNA samples that would pass cursory examination. These won't hold up to intense scrutiny, she warned, but they'll work for school enrollment and basic healthcare. One evening, as the desert sun set in spectacular fashion, the three humans gathered on Maya's porch while the Stellarian family rested inside. The marriage bond Neelix mentioned, Maya said hesitantly. It seems to be their only path to legal protection. Dr. Patel nodded thoughtfully. Interspecies marriage isn't on the books, obviously. But a human marriage to establish guardianship followed by adoption proceedings for the children, it could work. Maya, Jerome said carefully, are you considering this? She stared at the horizon. 2 months ago, my life was just plants and research. Now. She trailed off. Now you have a family, Dr. Patel finished gently. Even if it wasn't one you expected. The conversation was interrupted when Torin appeared at the door, his expression troubled. Something's approaching, he said, his voice tense. Aircraft. Moving slowly, searching pattern. Jerome was on his feet instantly. Black helicopter, no markings? Torin nodded. Government survey, Jerome said grimly. They've been mapping the area for weeks. Could be coincidence, but we can't risk it. They rushed inside where Neelix was already gathering the children. Her eyes met Maya's with unmistakable fear. They found us, she whispered. No, Maya said firmly, making a decision in that moment that would change all their lives. They found nothing but a normal family. Jerome, get the paperwork ready. Dr. Patel, prepare the DNA samples. If we're doing this, we're doing it now. As the sound of rotors grew closer, Maya took Neelix's six-fingered hand. I'll be your bond mate, she said. Whatever that means for both of us. Neelix's skin brightened with emotion, the bioluminescence beneath her lavender surface creating patterns Maya had never seen before. In my culture, Neelix said, her English now nearly perfect after weeks of practice, a bond means sharing not just protection, but thoughts, feelings, eventually even life force. Are you certain? The helicopter was now visible through the window, its searchlight sweeping the property. Maya squeezed the alien's hand. I've never been more certain of anything. As Jerome and Dr. Patel hurried to implement their emergency plan, Maya and Neelix stood facing each other, the beginning of an unlikely alliance that would soon be tested in ways none of them could anticipate. The government helicopter passed without incident, but its presence left an uneasy feeling that lingered for days. Maya and Neelix completed their private bonding ceremony with only Jerome, Dr. Patel, and the children as witnesses. The human legal marriage would come later, carefully orchestrated by Dr. Patel through connections who wouldn't ask questions. What Maya hadn't fully understood was the depth of the Stellarian bond. Each night as they slept side by side, an arrangement that began as practicality but evolved into comfort, Maya experienced vivid dreams that weren't her own. Fragments of Neelix's homeworld flashed through her consciousness, crystal cities that captured starlight, schools where children learned through direct mind sharing, and finally the horrific images of the invasion that had destroyed it all. I'm seeing your memories, Maya confessed one morning as they prepared breakfast for the children. Is that normal for your kind? Neelix's expression softened. The bond grows stronger. Soon, you'll experience more than memories. She hesitated. Does it disturb you? Maya considered this as she watched Torin help his siblings with their English lessons. No, she replied honestly. It feels intimate. Like knowing you completely. Their moment was interrupted when Jerome's truck skidded to a stop outside. He burst through the door, his expression grim. We've got trouble, he announced, tossing a local newspaper onto the table. Someone talked. The small headline read, Local claims aliens among us in desert community. The article was mostly dismissive, treating it as amusing local color, but included enough specific details to be concerning. This reporter interviewed several people in town, Jerome explained. Most laughed it off, but a few mentioned unusual lights near your property and strange deliveries. Dar. Patel arrived shortly after, equally concerned. This kind of story attracts attention, both from curious locals and government agencies. We need to move up our timeline. They worked frantically through the day, finalizing documents that would establish the children as Neelix's biological offspring and Maya as their stepmother through marriage. The story they crafted was that Neelix was a refugee from a small Pacific island nation destroyed by climate change, explaining any cultural or biological oddities. As night fell, they gathered in Maya's living room, the tension palpable. Little Maifa had stopped speaking entirely, sensing the adult's anxiety. The bonding ritual, Neelix said suddenly. If completed fully, it would help protect all of us. My children could share in it. What does that mean? Maya asked. Complete mental connection. Temporary physical changes to your biology. The ability to sense danger collectively. Neelix's eyes shimmered with emotion. It is not done lightly. Among my people, it is the deepest commitment possible. Before Maya could respond, car headlights swept across the windows. Not one vehicle, but several. Torin peered outside. 4 cars. People with cameras. 1 news van. Jerome cursed under his breath. Someone must have leaked our location specifically. Dr. Patel moved quickly to the back door. I'll create a distraction. Get ready to move them to my research facility if necessary. As she slipped out, Maya faced Neelix. The full bonding, do it now. Without hesitation, Neelix gathered her family in a circle, motioning for Maya to join them. They joined hands, the children's small 6-fingered hands linking with Maya's 5-fingered ones. Neelix began singing in her native language, a haunting melody that seemed to vibrate through Maya's very cells. The sensation began as warmth spreading from her hands throughout her body. Then came the light, the same bioluminescent glow that characterized the Stellarians began to appear beneath Maya's skin in delicate patterns. But most astonishing was the sudden rush of consciousness, not just Neelix's thoughts, but the children's as well, flowing into her mind with perfect clarity. Love. Fear. Hope. Trust. The emotions were overwhelming in their purity. Outside, they could hear Dr. Patel engaging the crowd, her authoritative voice claiming this was a restricted research site for the university. Some believed her, but others pressed forward, demanding to see the aliens. Through their new connection, Maya felt Torin's idea form before he spoke it. We must show ourselves, the boy said. But on our terms. They'll never leave us alone otherwise, Alai agreed, her young voice steadied despite her fear. Neelix looked at Maya, the question clear in her eyes. Together, Maya said. Whatever happens, we face it together. As the pounding on the door grew more insistent, the newly bonded family stood as one. The physical changes from the bond were subtle but noticeable. Maya's eyes now held a hint of the Stellarian's indigo depth, and faint luminescent patterns traced her skin when emotions ran high. I am no longer just human, Maya realized. And they are no longer just Stellarian. They had become something new, a true family, bound by choice rather than birth. And as Jerome finally opened the door to the crowd of curious onlookers and suspicious officials, they stood together, ready to face a world that might fear them, but might also, just possibly, learn to accept them. The moment the door opened, camera flashes erupted like miniature supernovas. Maya stepped forward, positioning herself slightly in front of the children, while Neelix stood tall beside her. The bond between them pulsed with shared determination and courage. Yes, we're here, Maya announced to the stunned crowd. And yes, we're different. But we're also a family. A murmur rippled through the onlookers. Some faces showed fear, others curiosity, and a few, a precious few, displayed wonder. The local news reporter pushed to the front, microphone extended. Are you claiming these are actual extraterrestrials? She demanded. Before Maya could answer, Jerome stepped between them. They're refugees seeking asylum. No different than humans fleeing persecution throughout history. From the back of the crowd, a stern-faced man in a dark suit emerged. I'm Agent Daniels, Department of Homeland Security. We've been monitoring unusual activity in this area for weeks. His gaze fixed on the Stellarian children, his expression unreadable. These individuals need to come with me for questioning and examination. Dr. Patel moved forward, her academic credentials displayed prominently. Under whose authority? These children have committed no crime. National security, Agent Daniels replied flatly. Potential biological threats must be contained and studied. The word studied sent a wave of terror through the bond. Maya felt Maifa's fear as if it were her own, the child's memories of laboratory examinations on their journey flashing through their shared consciousness. No, Maya stated firmly, the bioluminescent patterns beneath her skin flaring with protective instinct. They stay with me. We have documentation proving their legal status. Agent Daniels scoffed. Falsified documents won't. They're not falsified, came a new voice from the edge of the gathering. The crowd parted to reveal Mayor Eleanor Tanaka, the respected leader of their small community for over a decade. Behind her stood several town council members and at least 20 local residents. I've reviewed their paperwork personally, Mayor Tanaka continued, approaching Maya's family. Everything is in order. As for their unusual appearance, our town has always prided itself on being a sanctuary for those who are different. The mayor turned to address the crowd and cameras. Throughout history, humans have looked to the stars and wondered if we're alone. Tonight, we have our answer. And how we respond defines not their humanity, but our own. Agent Daniels wasn't easily deterred. You don't have the authority. Actually, Dr. Patel interrupted, under the International Refugee Protection Act of 2023, combined with the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, they do have protective status. The courts will need to decide jurisdiction. The standoff might have continued if not for the unexpected action of Harold Peters, the town's oldest resident and most notorious skeptic. The elderly man approached slowly, his weathered face curious as he studied the Stellarian children. Then, to everyone's surprise, he knelt with effort before little Maifa. My granddaughter died last year, he said softly. Cancer. Doctors couldn't help her. His voice broke slightly. Before she passed, she told us she saw beautiful people with starlight in their skin who came to comfort her. Said they weren't angels, but travelers from far away. None of us believed her. Maifa, acting on instinct that flowed through the bond, gently placed her six-fingered hand on Harold's arthritic one. The subtle glow of healing energy passed between them, visible to all watching. Harold gasped, flexing fingers that had been nearly immobile for years. Thank you, child, he whispered. The moment transformed the atmosphere. Where there had been fear, curiosity now bloomed. Local residents began stepping forward, not with hostility but with cautious greetings. Several families with children approached Torin and Eli, asking questions not about their differences, but about their journey and what games they played. Agent Daniels found himself increasingly isolated as community sentiment solidified against government intervention. Mayor Tanaka seized the opportunity to address the news cameras directly. Today, our town makes history as the first community on Earth to officially welcome visitors from another world. We invite other communities to join us in showing humanity's best face to the universe. In the days that followed, their small desert town transformed. What began as a potential threat became a symbol of hope. The initial news story spawned others, attracting peaceful supporters who established a perimeter of protection around Maya's property. Scientists, diplomats, and eventually government representatives arrived, but on the community's terms. 3 months later, Maya stood in her expanded greenhouse, watching through the glass as children, both human and Stellarian, played together under the desert sun. The government had eventually established a special status for Neelix's people, with their town designated as the first official integration zone. Did you ever imagine this outcome? Dr. Patel asked, joining Maya at the window. Never, Maya admitted. I was prepared for hiding, for running. Not for acceptance. Neelix approached, the bond between them now a comfortable presence in Maya's mind. Your people surprised us, she said, taking Maya's hand. We expected fear, but found community. Through their connection, Maya felt Neelix's contentment, and something else. You've received a signal, Maya realized aloud. From others of your kind. Neelix nodded. A small vessel approaches Earth. More survivors seeking refuge. Will you go to meet them? Maya asked, surprising herself with the twinge of anxiety the question produced. Neelix's expression softened as she sensed Maya's emotions through their bond. Our home is here now, she said simply. With you. We will welcome them to join our new beginning. As the desert sun set in a blaze of colors no less vivid than the memories of Neelix's homeworld that Maya now shared, they watched their children, human and stellarian alike, playing together under the emerging stars. What had begun in fear and desperation had transformed into something neither could have imagined, not just refuge, but true belonging. The stars above no longer represented distant, unreachable worlds, but a bridge between peoples who had found, against all odds, that the universe's greatest gift was not technology or power, but the capacity to form family where none had existed before.